Everyone needs saving sometimes, but it might not always be in the way that you would expect. We tend to think of superhumans as someone who has extraordinary gifts and talents. But what about those people who are simply good people? In this video, we're going to meet 50 superhumans and the animals that ask them for help. Okay, this group counts as one because there are so many of them. But while these people were out on their boat, they noticed a penguin trying to escape some killer whales. The people knew what to do, and the penguin knew what to do. He's like, "What's going on, my dudes? Thanks for the help." This baby monkey got its head stuck between two bars on a fence. Look, I can't lie and say that I haven't been there, and yeah, it's totally scary. The rescuers of this clip had a hard time actually retrieving this baby monkey because the mother was right there panicking, making it so difficult. Eventually, they were able to get it free. Speaking of fences and getting our heads stuck, this flock of magpies found themselves in a very similar situation. No doubt, these birds were happy to be free. Everybody loves dolphins. Go ahead, tell me I'm wrong. Dolphins are known for being extremely intelligent, and this one knew it was in trouble. With a fishing line around its neck, it approaches a group of divers to ask for help. But here's what's crazy. The dolphin sat there so patiently as the divers worked to remove the line and hook. This turtle's shell has become a habitat in itself. This isn't the ideal condition for a turtle just trying to live its life, so this man decides to help. I think the turtle is pretty stoked as it gives high fives of approval. This mother elephant was trying her hardest to get her baby unstuck from a mud pit. Eventually, this caused her to collapse from exhaustion. That's when the human sprung into action to lend a helping hand. As you'll see throughout this video, many of these animals have an unlikely encounter with water. In this case, it's a baby deer. This man rushed to its aid, but it was obviously weak from swimming. The man took it in and tended to its needs before later returning that day to reunite the baby with its mother. This poor little guy lost his back legs as a result of human cruelty. You can see why it might be skeptical when humans try to help, but as you can see, it just needed a lot of love and a little innovation. These workers were repairing a sewer when they broke through and boom, a massive bear breaks free, clearly excited to have escaped. How it got there remains a mystery, but these humans will always have a crazy story to tell. Something you would only expect to see in cartoons actually did happen. This sparrow was frozen to a metal handrail with no obvious solution for itself. This kind human uses his own body heat to free the bird. But this unfortunate occurrence isn't specific to small animals. This poor dog was frozen to the ground. She probably wasn't expecting any help at all, but once again, a good human knew exactly what had to be done. This woman couldn't seem to figure out why a little bird was following her and her dog around. Turns out, it had its eye on her water bottle and just needed a drink. This is definitely not the first time that an animal was in need of a cold one. Before I share the next clip, be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a comment below to tell us what your favorite animal is. Let's head back into the water where we find another baby deer swimming for dear life. This hero is super admirable because he boldly proclaims,
"I'm not gonna let him die." Here.
He swims into the cold to save the baby and bring it back to safety. This group of individuals came across a seal absolutely tangled in a net. Even though there were several of them, this was no easy challenge. It just shows us that we may need to be a little more careful where we disregard our items. This horse had experienced some extreme neglect, with hooves growing up to 3 feet in length. This horse probably never expected to walk again, but with a little care from a couple superhumans, it is now able to live a very normal life. Every creature needs to eat. This man caught a fox trying to steal a bag of freshly caught fish. But there was no need to get upset, and the man knew that, so he decided to share it with the little guy instead. This kitten was stuck underneath a fence, but it didn't just need help getting unstuck because the kitten actually dislocated its joints trying to get free. But these humans answered the call. This bird was struggling to get out of the river when it was greeted by a kind passerby who provided snacks and a safe trip back to shore. A dog was trapped after a large storm. Whether it was abandoned or simply wandered off, this kind man got into the cold water to guide it to safety. This wolf was so hungry that it had to do the unimaginable: ask a human. Some will say that the wolf saw this guy as the food, but he did what any good human would do, and that was to offer up his last bit of meat. The wolf was certainly grateful. A baby dolphin didn't stand a chance after becoming beached on the shoreline. These amazing people came to help by exerting all of their strength just to get it back into the water. This deer was alone in a field with a box on its head. At least, it thought it was alone. Assuming that there was a predator, it begins to panic. Luckily for him, it was just a good-hearted human. I personally have a soft spot for kittens. I absolutely love them, and if I found one in a parking lot, I'd bring it home as well. This little thing could not have ended up in better hands, as this guy goes above and beyond to make sure that the kitten's needs are met. Would you ever jump through ice to save a drowning animal? Cold water is rarely an easy decision to make, until it's a matter of life or death. What a champ. On the contrary, becoming overheated is also an issue for many animals. Watch this man spring into action and cool off this little duckling before it was too late. I suppose a lucky duck joke is appropriate. This elephant was caught in a ditch and most likely thought that it was going to be left behind by its family. Thankfully, people nearby were able to help it out with an excavator, making it easier to climb out. Yeah, buddy. Bears are known to be great swimmers, but exhaustion can affect even the best swimmers. Not knowing what would happen once it got onto the boat, this human saved a life that was very close to ending. Being trapped is never fun. Just ask the elephant from a couple clips ago. Here we see a couple of foxes trapped in a concrete hole. Please keep in mind that handling wild animals is not always a safe activity, but sometimes you just find a way. Here is another duck that got itself into a predicament, this time being wedged between some rocks. I don't know if animals feel claustrophobia, but this one is enough to trigger some people. Swim away, my friend. While we're on the topic of ducks, this one wasn't dealt the best hand, but thanks to modern technology, these superhumans 3D printed a new bill for it, and it actually worked better than anyone expected. This man was out for a walk when he was stopped by a panicking dog. Not knowing what he was getting himself into, he ended up saving 2 puppies from a bad situation. This sea lion got its head stuck in a tire, making it incredibly difficult for it to breathe. The other sea lions recognize the problem but don't know how to help. These smart young men came up with a brilliant solution that allowed them to keep their distance while setting the sea lion free. This dog becomes tangled in some fabric and begins to panic. A nearby officer spots the dog and comes to the rescue. I absolutely love this clip because of how the dog expresses its gratitude to the man. Come on, it's touching. A baby calf took a tumble into a flooded river following a storm. It would have certainly died had these 2 individuals not seen it happen. There was no hesitation jumping in, risking their own safety to help it out. A very selfless act. Occasionally, pets become abandoned. It's heartbreaking and doesn't always make a lot of sense. But if you saw this scared puppy on the side of the road seeking shelter, you might just take her in too. Good people are certainly out there. A cat is revived after being caught in a house fire. I bet you didn't know that firemen were protectors of all. It's just awesome to see. Nice work, fellas. Opossums and armadillos are no strangers to being in the middle of the road, but this kind of gesture from a human may have bought this little guy another day. This bear cub is super young, but it came looking for food. It would be hard to say no to this one. Eagles usually manage water fairly well. However, these men noticed that something was a little off. It was definitely injured. After some time working to calm the bird's nerves, they became friends, and they got it immediately into rehabilitation. This poor dog is quite literally skin and bones. After quite some time facing abuse and neglect, you'd think that it would never trust another human. Although it took these humans some time to prove themselves, this dog eventually became very loving and now has a wonderful new home. This sea turtle is fighting for its life when a nearby shark spots him and considers him a potential meal. Seemingly begging for help, these humans launched a rescue mission. Once he was safe, he waves back at the shark and is like, "Better luck next time." Imagine trying to lift soggy wool out of the water. Well, for this guy, that was the task at hand, but he refused to give up until the job was finished. This dog gets caught up in a barbed wire fence. As humans approach, it begins to go wild. I mean, you don't know what these people's intentions are. Once it realizes that they're there to help, it settles down and lets them do their thing. Bats. Although they're well known for their role in horror movies, they're actually pleasant animals. This one, however, needs some assistance getting unstuck from its predicament. This good soul takes it in and made it feel safe. Whales are big animals, there's no question about that. But their size isn't always an advantage, as this one gets stuck in a bunch of ice. This project took rescuers 8 hours to free it back into open waters. These humans provided massive troughs of water for these wild camels who were nearly 100 miles from the next closest water source. They're definitely excited to see their gift. The heat is no joke. Take it from this zebra who almost went unconscious because of the blazing sun. However, this human knew just what to do. On occasion, sea turtles end up a ways from the water. It isn't uncommon and they can find their way back. But wouldn't you help if you had the chance? This fox got its head stuck in a car wheel while searching for food. Luckily, these humans were willing to help. They took it to the vet where the fox was sedated and freed from its almost permanent home. An alligator happened to fall into a dried up well. While an alligator isn't on most people's list of favorite animals, when duty calls, you answer. After a little planning and some trial and error, this alligator was free. That's it for today's video. Hopefully you've been inspired to reach out and help others in need, whether it's an animal like these or a person you know. As always, stay super.